Now before I begin, I just want to say that when I looked upon Strange Magic, I was trying my hardest to review a film better than that one. Apparently, this thing stood in my way. Now, this is a movie where we would have to travel back in time, way back to the prehistoric era, that is. This is a time when dinosaurs ruled the earth. There are several animated films about dinosaurs that you can think of. You've got The Rite of Spring in Fantasia, you've got The Land Before Time, you've got We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, Dinosaur, and also The Good Dinosaur. But then there is this one. Now, you may think this is more of a live action movie than an animated feature, but considering that most of it uses photorealistic CGI, it counts as an animated film. So with that said, here is Walking with Dinosaurs. No, not the BBC miniseries, this one. Based on the BBC miniseries of the same name, this is a 2013 movie that was released in theaters before Christmas at the last minute without warning, and before then many people believed that Frozen was the last animated film released that year. So considering that this was released not only at the end of 2013, but also in the same year where we got bad movies such as Escape from Planet Earth and Freebirds, how is it as a movie? Does it live up to the miniseries, or will we be grateful that the movie went extinct like the dinosaurs themselves? First of all, I always thought that this was supposed to be a movie where none of the dinosaurs spoke at all, and we would get to experience just 90 minutes of the actual life of dinosaurs in a similar way to the Rite of Spring segment from Fantasia, much like Steven Spielberg and Disney originally wanted to do with The Land Before Time and Dinosaur respectively. And many of the people behind this one were very close to succeeding their goal to make that film. But then some of the stupidest executives put together took a look at this and they were entirely confused with what's going on, thinking that if the dinosaurs don't speak at all, audiences would get confused, including kids and their parents, and that they wouldn't make as much money either. So they decided to add some goofy voices at the last minute, thinking that it would be enough for the film to make a profit. And this is what happened. As a result of the executive's decision, the film is literally filled with 90 minutes of obnoxious dialogue. In other words, about 98% of it is plastered with constant voiceovers that never stop talking. The worst part is how obvious it was that this is a last-minute decision. And it's not just that the dinosaurs' lips don't move to what they say. The dialogue also contains useless expositions and terrible humor that is often juvenile. Sometimes the dinosaurs just talk about nothing at all because the movie can't remain silent.
Major is challenging your father for the role of leader. It's a time-honored tradition.
Oh yeah, and Major's toast.
Oh, and by the way, I hope you don't mind that I bring in this guy as you watch this video.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer.
I even have proof that this was a last-minute add-on to this. If you look at the first trailer of the movie, there is absolutely no dialogue coming out of the dinosaurs, so that could have been something that would have made the film a lot more enjoyable than it turned out to be. I know this doesn't really have anything to do with the plot of the feature, but the real issue is that the dialogue is so atrocious that it can completely ruin the entire film, as well as making the viewing experience completely insufferable. I can understand that this movie is trying to tell the underdog story of how Patchy lived as a dinosaur, and this could have made an amazing story, as well as something both intense and beautiful to watch. But it makes it really hard to focus on what's happening throughout when the only thing you can do as you watch the film is pray that they would for once stop talking.
Whoa, hold on. I'm the one telling the story.
I have more credibility here. It's my story, Alex.
Yeah, but I have a more neutral perspective.
Just stop. Just stop it. Stop. No, just stop it.
This film really did have the potential to be timeless and creative, but all the redeeming factors of the story are completely destroyed by all the horrid voiceovers. Even though the dialogue can leave you banging your head on the desk, the animation and visuals are much different. The animation is brought to us by the same people who did such films as Happy Feet, and they have done an amazing job like they did in the past. It's very stunning with how they made the dinosaurs look realistic using photorealistic CGI. So much so that it looks and feels like they filmed the whole thing without the need of animation. As well as moving like they were once the kings of the earth, the dinosaurs have a lot of detail in them, including their skin, horns, and all that sort of thing that can easily be found. Another thing to note regarding the visuals is that this was done similarly to films like Dinosaur, as the dinosaurs are animated and the backgrounds were filmed on camera. A lot of the views captured by the filmmakers are as beautiful to look at as the dinosaurs themselves, literally filming at some great looking forests and the highest mountains to get their settings for this film. Even the dinosaurs feel like they belong there, including that the animators used the correct level of lighting and in some cases dirt to look like they fit very well in that environment. This could be one good thing I can think of regarding this feature. It's an amazing example of how animation can really mix together the real things and those that are non-existent.
You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life?
Filthy Frank, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here while I'm talking about how great the animation really is. You are under contract to slam all the horrible dialogue that happens throughout the movie. Now get out of here and go back to your job or you're fired. And action. While the whole film is literally just 1.5 hours of the most annoying blabberfest in a movie, there are actually only 4 dinosaur characters that don't know when to stop talking, including Patchy, the underdog main character who is determined to be powerful enough to lead his friends on the journey, Alex, his friend who is also the narrator of the film, Juniper, the dino Patchy falls in love with, and Scowler, his brother who is often a troublemaker and is full of himself. Because of how much unbearable dialogue is in this movie, they are all just infuriating and hateable jerks. I cannot understand how only 4 characters can ruin an entire movie by filling the whole thing with nothing but the most atrocious voiceovers ever. Again, all anyone can do with these guys is just wish that they would stop talking and act like normal creatures on planet Earth for once. Other characters in the film include Patchy's parents, Major, the Gorgosaurus, and more, and although they don't appear as much as the main 4 characters, they are actually the best characters because they don't speak at all and they only do what they're supposed to do, while these stupid characters speak all the time as if their dialogue was the movie's soundtrack. This might be the worst thing regarding this film. Not that the endless voiceovers cover the whole thing, but all those voiceovers were done by only 4 actors. That and also the voice acting is absolutely terrible. If the large amount of horrible voiceovers and how their mouths don't move to their words was not enough, then the awful performance certainly is. I have been having a very hard time finding a single voice actor in the dinosaur cast that actually puts in any sort of effort in their performance, which makes these characters even more hateable than they already are.
Gotcha! I'm stuck! I'm stuck! Oh, no, don't worry about me. I'm fine. No, I love you too. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I appreciate it, buddy.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!
It's also very shocking that these four people who voice the same characters are highly respectable actors, including John Leguizamo, the voice of Sid in the Ice Age films, Justin Long, the voice of Alvin in the Alvin and the Chipmunks films, Tia Serkar, the voice of Sabine Wren in Star Wars Rebels, and even Skylar Stone. Speaking of Tia, she's probably the only one who actually put effort in her voice role when doing Juniper. In fact, all four of these actors are capable of delivering a great performance, but with the other three, none of them gave a single crap in this film, and even they pretty much hated the idea of putting dialogue in the movie. As a result, they made the characters sound as unlikable as their dialogue. It's not just the dialogue, you know, because if the actors put barely any emotion on that, what makes you think the audience would care about any of these guys at all? Rather, if there's nothing dialogue-wise or performance-wise to like about them, these characters only display an image of whom to blame it on regarding the action of constantly saying the stupidest and most ridiculous things anyone has ever heard, and whom to tell them, stop it.
Yes, it's time to stop. No, this is not okay. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. I'm sorry, Bob.
I'll be honest with you guys. When I recently went into my first time watching this film and said that people thought Frozen was the last animated film of 2013, I was actually right. The reason why I said that is because many people, including me, wanted that year to end off on a high note, where even if it had its share of decent animated films and bad animated films, Frozen would come in to deliver a great ending to the year where people had to suffer through these films. But then at the last minute, this film came along to just ruin everything, like all hope is lost, boom, gone. I guess I set my hopes a little too high before I saw this one. Walking with Dinosaurs does have the potential it could have brought out to be an amazing movie that tells the story of the actual life of dinosaurs by offering an engaging story, beautiful visuals and animation, and dinosaurs that look very realistic as if this was entirely filmed. But when you fill the whole feature with terrible voiceovers done by just 4 morons, it completely destroys the viewing experience and results in a small group of hateable characters with lousy acting from some respectable celebrities who just didn't care whatsoever. I can only recommend that you should just stay away from this film entirely. If you need your animated dinosaur fix, you're better off with stuff like Dinosaur, Land Before Time, The Good Dinosaur. You even got the Walking with Dinosaurs miniseries, so you might as well go with those ones instead of this. However, if you do want to watch this one, I would recommend to just mute the movie, or you can also get the Cretaceous cut for the Blu-ray 3D release, because that one has no dialogue at all, just as the people working on it originally intended. So either way, you don't have to suffer from the anger and headache coming from whatever the characters have to say. You know, when it comes to my rating for this film, like with the story, animation, and characters, my calculations weren't that perfect, to be honest. But with a movie this awful because of the dialogue, I think it pretty much deserves the actual rating. Now, I don't know how many times I have to go on and on about how repulsive and irritating the dialogue is, but I think it's time that I wrap that up by saying that not only is it worth a 3.5 out of 10 rating, but it's also Dirksen's stamp of failure worthy. Oh, good God. But anyways, I gotta rest my head. Like, I really need a break from all that non-stop chit-chat from the movie. I don't think it's just Filthy Frank that said it best. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger knows how annoying those voiceovers are.
Come on, Dad. Show him who's boss. Introduce your horn to his head. Yeah, smack.
Ah, quit it.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Yep, that's pretty much it. See ya, guys. And remember to feel the power of Dirksen. Dirksen power.